last night escalated quickly in the final New York City mayoral debate, with the candidates frequently interrupting, talking over one another. Former Democratic Governor Andrew Cuomo is now running as an independent. He was reminded often of the past claims of sexual harassment against him. Then there was the Guardian Angels community group founder, Curtis Sliwa. He was a big supporter of the police. He talked about that last night. Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani tried to keep both of them on their toes. And one of the things the candidates battled was the best way to handle President Trump.
With Trump, it's always the art of the deal. You have to go, you have to try to negotiate, whether it's with his minions or himself. He'll want you to give in order to get a little bit. But if you immediately act like you're going to take him on, like, it's going to be a one-on-one fight, we're going to lose. All the people in New York City are going to lose.
You're wrong. You're going to have to confront President Trump. He is hyper-aggressive, and he is going to overstep his bounds. And you are going to have to confront him. And you can beat him. I confronted him, and I have beaten him. He was going to quarantine New York during COVID, and I stopped him. He was going to cut aid to federal programs, and I stopped him.
Look, Donald Trump ran on 3 promises. He ran on creating the single largest deportation force in American history. He ran on going after his political enemies, and he ran on lowering the cost of living. If he wants to talk to me about the 3rd piece of that agenda, I will always be ready and willing. But if he wants to talk about how to pursue the 1st and 2nd piece of that agenda at the expense of New Yorkers, I will fight him every single step of the way.
All right. Well, we're joined by political commentator Andrew Kirtzman now. We heard a little bit about the strategies of all 3 as it relates to dealing with the White House. What are your thoughts, first of all, though, on an overall winner or loser last night?
Sure. Well, it was a pretty electric debate last night. You had 3 very, very talented public figures up there. For most of this campaign, the former governor, Andrew Cuomo, was run a surprisingly listless and joyless campaign. This feared figure seemed very diminished. And as you know, he lost the primary badly to this unknown backbenching state assemblyman, Zoran Mamdani, who is now, a political rock star with a double-digit lead. Well, last night, kind of the old Andrew Cuomo resurfaced that reminded people why he was such a feared figure in the beginning, ripped into Mamdani as inexperienced, as shallow, as dangerous because of his, what Cuomo called his extreme left-wing views. Curtis Sliwa, on the other hand, the Republican who's been kind of yucking it up on the sidelines for decades in New York as head of the Guardian Angels, has suddenly kind of grown as a candidate. And between Cuomo on one side of Mamdani and Sliwa on the other, Mamdani was overwhelmed.
There were some good zingers last night. Andrew, we already talked about one of our favorite lines of Sliwa saying that Mamdani's resume could fit on a cocktail napkin. Were there
It was a good line.
Yeah, it was a great line. Were there other interesting moments where maybe viewers saw something they hadn't seen before that might change the equation here when it comes to Election Day?
Sure. Well, Mamdani, I guess, was playing it very safe last night. They were asked about some charter revision ballot measure this year, and Mamdani didn't take a position. And it allowed both of them to literally laugh at him. I've never seen anything like this in a debate where Mamdani was in the middle, you had Cuomo on one side and Sliwa on the other, and they were literally laughing at the guy. And it was a little painful, a little cringy. And, Mamdani has been kind of on this pedestal. I mean, he's up by double digits. He's been compared to Barack Obama as someone with just an electric following, someone who has, thousands of people show up at his speaking events. He's really a phenomenon. He's also extremely gifted as a communicator, extremely gifted as a debater. To see him kind of knocked off his pedestal last night by both of them was kind of an eye-opening experience.
Yeah, Andrew, I thought that moment that we played of Andrew Cuomo basically reminding voters of the long track record he had running the state of New York, where he had to deal with other leaders. I mean, he has dealt with Donald Trump for decades. He knows him. And so that was just a reminder of, or I guess maybe a stark contrast of, do you want to take a gamble on this exciting newbie, or do you want someone with a proven track record? And so, I mean, the polls, I guess the polls aren't out yet, but do you think that moves the needle today?
I think it will move the needle towards Cuomo just a bit. But Cuomo is behind 10 points, and he and Curtis Sliwa are splitting the anti-Mamdani vote. And so really, Cuomo needed both of those guys to lose last night. And Sliwa, unfortunately for Cuomo, had a terrific night. I mean, he's an interesting guy. I mean, he has been, a pundit basically for the last several decades. And now he's really growing and maturing as a political candidate. And I think he's gained a lot of respect in the city. So, Cuomo either needs Mamdani to fall. Sorry, he both needs Mamdani to fail, and he needs Sliwa to fail. Otherwise, if Sliwa's numbers don't go down, Cuomo has absolutely no chance of winning. There's been a lot of pressure on Sliwa just to drop out to allow Cuomo to beat Mamdani, but Sliwa's not going anywhere.
No, and there's a lot of people who say even if he did, that would not it would not translate into votes for Cuomo.
It might not.
I see the double-edged sword, because the more that Cuomo reminds people of his long and storied history, having a lot of experience running the job, it also reminds them of some of the toughest parts that really hurt him, including the sexual harassment allegations, the nursing home debacle during COVID. So, that also gets brought up in these situations.
I mean, Cuomo had to resign in a sexual harassment scandal. That you can't spin that away. So, the issue when incumbents or I guess establishment leaders are, go up against kind of these mavericks without experience is the leaders can talk about how much experience they have, but the mavericks can talk about, the downside of that experience. So Mamdani hit as well as he took it. I mean, he's, pointed out the sexual harassment cases against Cuomo, even brought a victim, I guess, so-called victim of Cuomo's sexual harassment to the audience. So, Cuomo had to suffer, slog through that. And like I said, it's very hard to explain away having had to resign the governorship in a sexual harassment scandal. It's like, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, I don't want to be Andrew Cuomo's spokesperson, but the way he has explained it is that no charges were ever brought, and he wishes he hadn't. That he now regrets resigning, having done that he should have fought. He feels as though he was swept up in this Me Too moment, and that his crimes or alleged crimes, that they were minor compared to the other Me Too, offenders. But I mean, I just wanted to get his point of view in there. But I don't know if voters are believing that. I mean, to your both of your points, Andrew.
It's a tough case to make.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah, he keeps saying the cases were dropped, but he's still being asked about it in these debates, and it's still reminding voters, oh yeah, he had to resign as governor. So it's dogging him still.
It sure is.
Yeah.